of the State of the Nation address. Siviwe Gwarube, who is the chief whip of the official opposition, has said that there are no plans afoot by the governing party of the day to eradicate issues pertaining to load shedding in the country. Go to Gordon Hill Lewis, the mayor of the city of Cape Town. This city may be arguably the first metro municipality to provide electricity to the people directly from the municipality as opposed from the power utility Eskom. I'm going to bring in now the DA chief whip, Siviwe Gwarube. Ms. Gwarube, just the essence of the DA's oversight over the State of the Nation address. What are you anticipating, particularly from a legislative framework in this National Assembly, well, now City Hall, and also going forward? What are you anticipating from the President of the Republic?
Good morning, Samkelo, and good morning to your viewers. Of course, look, we are of the view that the governing party has run out of ideas, they've run out of rope, and there's very little that we as the official opposition are expecting from the president this evening. However, of course, we are not intending on disrupting the session out of respect, not because we're anticipating anything new from the president, but out of respect for the institution. So we will arrive and we will listen to the president. However, our opportunity to essentially put together what will be our alternative view will be next week when we debate the State of the Nation address. We think if the president is to even move the needle in any way, he ought to obviously firstly address the energy crisis. As we speak right now, Samkelo, we are in stage 4 load shedding, and that has devastating effects on ordinary South Africans, effects that perhaps government is not aware of because they are shielded from the effects of load shedding. Small businesses are closing, sending more and more people into the unemployment queues. We've seen now that even water and water purification plants are suffering because of this, meaning that there are parts of South Africa that have no water. And so this has deep-reaching consequences across for all South Africans. We've put solutions on the table. We've said to government, let us have a conversation. We have engaged with experts in this field to say, here are some of the solutions, both in the short term and in the long term, that we can make sure that we have sustainable energy in South Africa. There's no way we can in any way attract investment if we can't keep the lights on. And those are just the basics that a government ought to do. And of course, we're expecting the president to say something particularly around corruption. We know that his cabinet that has many questionable characters in them is still very much intact. We are expecting to hear exactly how the president is going to shuffle his decks. It would really be an apt opportunity for the president actually to address the nation and say, it is on the basis of these and these and these reasons that I've replaced this person and I've replaced this person. Because it's actually, while it's the president's prerogative to appoint a cabinet, it is actually for the betterment of the people of South Africa. And of course, issues like crime, but also more importantly, Samkelo, which is something that is also very much linked to the issue of the energy crisis, is the issue of cost of living. Again, the DA has been at the forefront of putting solutions to, say, cut VAT on basic products for families, for instance, like inborn chicken, for instance, baby food. All of these things would go a long way in cushioning South Africans from the blow of the cost of living crisis. And as I said, we want to be a constructive opposition. We want to bring solutions to the table. And we are hoping that the president today can perhaps announce some of those things that will go a long way in really shielding South Africans from the harsh reality of where they find themselves today.
It's very interesting that you speak in this manner of the president today, but last year, here in this very same venue, your leader, John Steenhuisen, said it's as if the President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, was reading off the DA blueprint in the State of the Nation address on the just transition, on the economic trajectory of the country. What made you think now that he may have made an about U-turn on last year's pronouncements in the State of the Nation address, which you, as the DA, endorsed as the DA manifesto?
Absolutely. I mean, you'll remember Samkelo as something out of a movie, really. The president made these really, promising utterances in his State of the Nation address, talking about the fact that, it's not government's job to create jobs and that we must create an environment that will make sure that, the private sector comes on board in terms of providing jobs. Remember, 7 out of 10 young people today are unemployed. 30 million South Africans are living in poverty. And so that was music to our ears. But it wasn't even a week later, in fact, when we were debating the President's State of the Nation address, when he quickly walked it back because of the people within his organization. And that's why when I started the interview with you, I said, the President has run out of time, he's run out of rope, they've run out of ideas. Because even if the President personally wants to make the right moves, whether it is some reforms that are needed in government, whether it is allowing independent power producers to step in and really start to alleviate the pressure on Eskom, all of those things are met with opposition within his party, within his own ministers, people who don't believe in these reforms. And so the president is a lone ranger, as effective as, this umbrella in Cape Town's wind, because ultimately there's nothing he can do without the endorsement of his party. And a number of people have said, but he's got now a second term, and so therefore he's got a renewed mandate. And Samkelo, the reality is that even in the midst of this energy crisis, we are yet to see the president address the nation, talk about some of the things that are going to be put on in implementation. And so in as much as, yes, after the last State of the Nation address, it wasn't a week after that he walked back everything that he said, again proving to us that while the president perhaps may want to, or maybe he does not, it doesn't matter at this point. The reality is that the government that he leads is incapable of pulling South Africa out of the crisis that it finds itself in today.
I stay in Gauteng, Siviwe, and I'll put it to you that the DA administration, just like the administration, is cut off the same cloth. You look at your disastrous term running Tshwane municipality, over R1 billion, 10 billion rands over irregular expenditure through the Auditor General's report. Potholes left, right and center, refuse not collected. Tshwane is a shadow of its former self. You go to Ekurhuleni, not much done by the DA. The municipality can't even pay service providers. Refuse is not collected in townships. Again, a failed coalition government of the DA. Go to the city of Johannesburg under Mpho Phalatse as well. Serious financial issues under the DA administration. How different are you from the ANC? People are not getting basic services in the municipalities that you run in Gauteng. Potholes left, right and center. They're like swimming pools on the roads in Johannesburg.
Look, Samkelo, here's the thing, and we've got to be fair also in our assessment. And this is not, the ANC rhetoric of we've, had only 30 years. But the reality is that if you mismanage municipalities, if you mismanage the infrastructure in municipalities, if you do not take care and have maintenance of the infrastructure in municipalities, the reality is that regardless of what you may want, regardless of some of the implementation plans that you may have, you've got to work backwards. And you've got to work backwards and fix infrastructural problems that have been neglected for decades. Let me give you an example of Johannesburg, which you have mentioned. The reality is that the coalition government, the multi-party coalition government in Johannesburg, had 7 months where they were operating under a budget that was not theirs. And they only had a few months before they were voted out, where they had now passed a budget that was theirs, and we're going to be implementing plans against that budget. In fact, on the day or the day before that Mpho Phalatse was voted out on a vote of no confidence, she had announced plans around how we can make sure that we shield the city from load shedding, like we are doing here in Cape Town. And so the fault really here is that there has been decades of mismanagement of these municipalities, and where we can and where we've got the majority, and unfortunately in Johannesburg we were voted out. And that is the reality of unstable coalitions, and that's why we want to stabilize coalitions, because we believe that even in Cape Town we started off with a coalition government, but look at how we have built in terms of the record of government. And so I would disagree vehemently that we are cut from the same cloth.
Well, voters will decide that, but by the looks of things, it doesn't look like a very good picture. That is Siviwe Gwarube, who is from the Democratic Alliance. Siviwe, Sakina, speaking about the state of Gauteng municipalities and ANC governance. When you look at the two, between the two nationally and the province in Gauteng, the metros, not too far from one another with bad, pathetic and non-service delivery to the people.